Jesus and his friends had had a long, tiring day. Jesus had been out teaching, healing, and feeding people for hours. When the day was finally over and the large crowds of people were leaving, Jesus told his disciples to get into their boat and go back to the other side of the lake. When everyone was gone, Jesus went up to the top of a mountain to rest and pray. When Jesus had finished praying, it was early in the morning and still dark outside. He came down to the shore where the disciples had left hours earlier. He could see their boat far out in the water. He could also see that the disciples were having a hard time steering the boat because of the wind and the waves, and he knew that he had to get to the other side and help. So even though the water was deep and the night was windy, Jesus began to walk towards his friends, right on top of the water. Jesus walked and walked until finally he was close enough to the disciples that he could see each one of them on the boat. All of a sudden, the disciples turned and saw Jesus too. But it was dark and they were tired and scared, so they didn't recognize him. They had never seen a person walk on water before, so they had no idea what to think. "What is that?" they cried, staring into the night. "What if it's a ghost? Ah!" Jesus saw immediately that the disciples were scared and confused. He didn't want them to be, so he called out to them in a strong, loving voice, "It's okay. It's me. It's Jesus. Don't be scared." But Jesus' friends still were not sure. One of them, a man named Peter, decided to try a little test to make sure that the person walking on water was Jesus. He said, "Lord, if it's really you, then tell me to step out of the boat and walk on the water too." Jesus said, "Okay, come." The other disciples watched as Peter carefully got out of the boat and began to walk on the water towards Jesus. Quickly, though, he looked around and realized how very big the waves were and how very deep the water was, and he began to sink. Panicking, he cried out, "Lord, save me or I'll drown." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught Peter before he sank. Jesus helped Peter back into the boat. "You have so little trust in me, Peter," Jesus said. "Why did you doubt?" Jesus was asking why Peter felt a need to test Jesus in the first place. Why didn't Peter believe that Jesus was who he said he was? Why did he doubt Jesus when he saw the wind and the waves? As soon as Jesus got into the boat with his friends, the wind stopped and the water became gentle and calm. Then everyone in the boat knew that Jesus was really someone special. They worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are God's Son." Have you ever seen a lake or an ocean during a storm? What is it like to hear the wind and watch the waves? What are some things that make you feel afraid? What helps you to be brave when you're scared? In this Bible story, we see that Jesus stays close to his friends and cares for them even when they're afraid and doubtful. Can you try to remember this week that God is always with you, no matter how hard or scary things become? This story is taken from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 14.